Presidential Medal of Freedom. We leave this recorded event now to take you live to that Medal of Freedom ceremony at the White House as the recipients are being introduced. The nation's highest civilian award goes to 16 individuals this year, including Senator Ted Kennedy and former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. Live coverage now from the East Room on C-SPAN.
Joseph Medicine Crow. Stuart Milk, accepting on behalf of his uncle, Harvey Bernard Milk. Sandra Day O'Connor. Sidney Poitier. Chita Rivera. Mary Robinson. Janet Davison Rowley. Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Mpilo Tutu. Muhammad Yunus. Stephen Hawking. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and First Lady Michelle Obama.
Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. There are many honors and privileges bestowed on the occupant of this House, but few mean as much to me as the chance to award America's highest civilian medal to the recipients that are here today. This is a chance for me and for the United States of America to say thank you to some of the finest citizens of this country and of all countries. The men and women we honor today have led very different lives and pursued very different careers. They're pioneers in science and medicine. They're gifted artists and indomitable athletes. They have made their mark in the courtroom, in the community, and in Congress. And what unites them is a belief that most, forgive me to those of you who are not Americans, but what we consider to be that most American of beliefs. That our lives are what we make of them. That no barriers of race, gender, or physical infirmity can restrain the human spirit. And that the truest test of a person's life is what we do for one another. The recipients of the Medal of Freedom did not set out to win this. or any other award. They did not set out in pursuit of glory or fame or riches. Rather, they set out guided by passion, committed to hard work, aided by persistence, often with few advantages but the gifts, grace, and good name God gave them. So let them stand as an example here in the United States and around the world of what we can achieve in our own lives. Let them stand as an example of the difference we can make in the lives of others. Let each of their stories stand as an example of a life well lived. One of the last things Susie Komen did before she passed away was ask her sister Nancy to make her a promise. Nancy promised her she would prevent other families battling breast cancer from hurting the way theirs had. What began with $200 and a list of friends has become a global race for the cure, a campaign that has eased the pain and saved the lives of millions around the world. In the months after her sister's death, Nancy lay awake at night thinking about the promise she had made and wondering whether one person could really make a difference. Nancy's life is the answer. While an intern at Miami's Jackson Memorial, Dr. Pedro Jose Greer came across a patient in a coma without a known name or address, a homeless man found by firefighters suffering from tuberculosis. In the days that followed, the physician Little Havana knows as Dr. Joe searched for clues about the patient's life in the squalor under Miami's highways. Deciding that Miami's homeless deserved better, Dr. Greer founded Camila's Health Concern, a clinic that now offers care to over 4,000 poor and homeless patients. It's a life that might be distilled into a question Dr. Greer asks all of us. If we don't fight injustice, who will? Professor Stephen Hawking was a brilliant man and a mediocre student when he lost his balance and tumbled down a flight of stairs. Diagnosed with a rare disease and told he had just a few years to live, he chose to live with new purpose. And happily, in the 4 decades since, he has become one of the world's leading scientists. His work in theoretical physics, which I will not attempt to explain further here, has advanced our understanding of the universe. His popular books have advanced the cause of science itself. From his wheelchair, he's led us on a journey to the farthest and strangest reaches of the cosmos. In so doing, he has stirred our imagination and shown us the power of the human spirit here on Earth. Now, told he was too small to play college football, Jack Kemp became a pro quarterback. Cut by 4 teams, he led the Buffalo Bills to 2 championships. Football, he once said, gave him a good sense of perspective about politics. He'd already been booed, cheered, cut, sold, and traded. So, makes me feel better. A conservative thinker, a Republican leader, and a defender of civil rights. He was that rare patriot who put country over party, never forgetting what he learned on the gridiron, that it takes each of us doing our part and all of us working together to achieve a common goal. It's a life from which we can all draw lessons, Democrat and Republican alike. After purchasing an $8 racket with money earned from chores, 11-year-old Billie Jean declared a goal to be the #1 tennis player in the world. Yet, what we honor are not simply her 12 Grand Slam titles, 101 doubles titles, and 67 singles titles. Pretty good, Billie Jean. We honor what she calls all of the off-the-court stuff, what she did to broaden the reach of the game, to change how women athletes and women everywhere view themselves, and to give everyone, regardless of gender or sexual orientation, including my 2 daughters, a chance to compete both on the court and in life. As Billie Jean once said, we should never, ever underestimate the human spirit, nor should we underestimate Billie Jean King's spirit. Born and raised in Jim Crow, Alabama, preaching in his blood, the Reverend Joseph Lowry is a giant of the Moses generation of civil rights leaders. It was just King, Lowry, and a few others huddled in Montgomery who laid the groundwork for the bus boycott and the movement that was to follow. A founder of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Lowry was later asked to serve as president. He agreed to serve for 1 year, but wound up serving, as he puts it, for 20 one-year terms. Throughout his life, some have called him crazy, but one of my favorite sermons that I heard Dr. Lowry once deliver, he said, "There's good crazy and there's bad crazy." And sometimes you need a little bit of that good crazy to make the world a better place. Born just a generation past the Battle of the Little Bighorn, a grandson of a scout for General Custer himself, Dr. Joseph Medicine Crow was the first member of his tribe to attend college and earn a master's. Before completing his PhD, he left to serve in World War II, wearing war paint beneath his uniform and a sacred feather beneath his helmet. Joseph Medicine Crow completed the 4 battlefield deeds that made him the last Crow War chief. Historian, educator, and patriot. A good man. A Buja Icha in Crow. Dr. Medicine Crow's life reflects not only the warrior spirit of the Crow people, but America's highest ideals. His name was Harvey Milk, and he was here to recruit us, all of us, to join a movement and change a nation. For much of his early life, he had silenced himself. In the prime of his life, he was silenced by the act of another. But in the brief time in which he spoke and ran and led, his voice stirred the aspirations of millions of people. He would become, after several attempts, one of the first openly gay Americans elected to public office. And his message of hope, hope unashamed, hope unafraid, could not ever be silenced. It was Harvey who said it best. You got to give them hope. When a young Sandra Day graduated from Stanford Law School near the top of her class, in 2 years instead of the usual 3, she was offered just 1 job in the private sector. Her prospective employer asked her how well she typed and told her there might be work for her as a legal secretary. Now, I cannot know how she would have fared as a legal secretary, but she made a mighty fine justice of the United States Supreme Court. A judge, an Arizona legislator, cancer survivor, child of the Texas Plains. Sandra Day O'Connor is like the pilgrim in the poem she sometimes quotes, who has forged a new trail and built a bridge behind her for all young women to follow. It's been said that Sidney Poitier does not make movies, he makes milestones. Milestones of artistic excellence. Milestones of America's progress. On screen and behind the camera, in films such as The Defiant Ones, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Uptown Saturday Night, Lilies of the Field, for which he became the first African American to win an Academy Award for Best Actor. Poitier not only entertained but enlightened, shifting attitudes, broadening hearts, revealing the power of the silver screen to bring us closer together. The child of a Bahamian tomato farmers, Poitier once called his driving purpose to make himself a better person. He did, and he made us all a little bit better along the way. Dolores Conchita Figueroa del Rivero knows the adversity that comes with a difficult name. I can relate. Known to the world by the name that has lit up Broadway marquees, Chita Rivera's career had an improbable start. Accompanying a nervous classmate on an audition, she decided to audition herself and impressed the choreographer Jerome Robbins, who would make her famous as Anita in West Side Story. Sassy, electric, that rare performer who can sing, dance, and act, Chita Rivera revealed that still rarer ability to overcome when she recovered from a car accident that shattered her leg, She ended up retaking the stage, won a Tony for Kiss of the Spider Woman. And like her unforgettable Anita, Chita Rivera has shown that life can indeed be bright in America. The only girl in a family of 4 brothers, Mary Robinson learned early on what it takes to make sure all voices are heard. As a crusader for women and those without a voice in Ireland, Mary Robinson was the first woman elected president of Ireland before being appointed UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. When she traveled abroad as president, she would place a light in her window that would draw people of Irish descent to pass by below. Today, as an advocate for the hungry and the hunted, the forgotten and the ignored, Mary Robinson has not only shone a light on human suffering, but illuminated a better future for our world. After graduating from the University of Chicago School of Medicine in 1948, Janet Wowley got married and gave birth to 4 sons, making medicine a hobby and making family her priority. It was not until she was almost 40 that she took up serious medical research, and not until almost a decade later that she discovered, hunched over her dining room table, examining small photos of chromosomes, that leukemia cells are notable for changes in their genetics, a discovery that showed cancer is genetic and transformed how we fight the disease. All of us have been touched in some way by cancer, including my family, and so we can all be thankful that what began as a hobby became a life's work for Janet. The glint in the eye and the lilt in the voice are familiar to us all. But the signature quality of Archbishop Desmond Tutu, says Nelson Mandela, is a readiness to take unpopular stands without fear. Perhaps that explains what led the Arch, as he's known, to preach amid tear gas and police dogs rallying a people against apartheid. And later, when a free South Africa needed a heart big enough to forgive its sins, Archbishop Desmond Tutu was called to serve once more as chairman of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Tribune of the downtrodden, voice of the oppressed, cantor of our conscience, Desmond Tutu possesses that sense of generosity, that spirit of unity, that essence of humanity that South Africans know simply as Ubuntu. 35 years ago, a young economics professor at a university in Bangladesh was struck by the disconnect between the theories he was teaching in class and the reality of the famine outside. So determined to help, Muhammad Yunus left the classroom for a village and discovered that just $27 would free dozens of artisans, vendors, and rickshaw pullers from debt. Offering himself as a guarantor, he withdrew a loan, paid off their debts, and founded Grameen Bank, a bank that has dispersed over $8 billion, lifting millions of people from poverty with microloans. Muhammad Yunus was just trying to help a village, but he somehow managed to change the world. There's a story Ted Kennedy sometimes tells. It's about a boy who sees an old man tossing starfish stranded by a receding tide back into the sea. "There are so many," asks the boy. "What difference can your efforts possibly make?" The old man studies the starfish in his hand and tosses it to safety, saying, "It makes a difference to that one." For nearly half a century, Ted Kennedy has been walking that beach, making a difference for that soldier fighting for freedom, that refugee looking for a way home, that senior searching for dignity, that worker striving for opportunity, that student aspiring to college, that family reaching for the American dream. The life of Senator Edward M. Kennedy has made a difference for us all. These are the 2009 recipients of the Medal of Freedom. At a moment when cynicism and doubt too often prevail, when our obligations to one another are too often forgotten, when the road ahead can seem too long or hard to tread, these extraordinary men and women, these agents of change, remind us that excellence is not beyond our abilities, that hope lies around the corner, and that justice can still be won in the forgotten corners of this world. They remind us that we each have it within our powers to fulfill dreams, to advance the dreams of others, and to remake the world for our children. And it is now my distinct and extraordinary honor to ask each of them to come forward to receive their award as a military aide reads their citation.
Drawing strength from tragedy, Nancy Goodman Brinker has transformed the nation's approach to breast cancer. When her sister was diagnosed in 1977, most breast cancer victims knew relatively little about the disease and suffered from popular stigmas. Nancy G. Brinker promised to challenge these norms. She founded Susan G. Komen for the Cure in honor of her sister, and today the organization supports research and community awareness programs across the United States and around the world. Nancy G. Brinker's unique passion and determination have been a blessing to all those whose lives have been touched by breast cancer. Pedro Jose Greer, Jr. Dr. Pedro Jose Joe Greer, Jr. has devoted his career to improving medical services for the uninsured. A native of Miami, he followed his passion for helping others to medical school and founded the Cumulus Health Concern, CHC, in 1984 as a medical intern. Today, CHC treats thousands of homeless patients a year, serving as a model clinic for the poor and inspiring physicians everywhere to work with indigent populations. Dr. Greer's tremendous contributions to the South Florida community and our nation as a whole stand as a shining example of the difference one person can make in the lives of many. Stephen Hawking. Persistent in his pursuit of knowledge, Stephen Hawking has unlocked new pathways of discovery and inspired people around the world. He has dedicated his life to exploring the fundamental laws that govern the universe, and he has contributed to some of the greatest scientific discoveries of our time. His work has stirred the imagination of experts and laypersons alike. Living with a disability and possessing an uncommon ease of spirit, Stephen Hawking's attitude and achievements inspire hope, intellectual curiosity, and respect for the tremendous power of science. Joanne Kemp, accepting on behalf of her husband, Jack French Kemp. A statesman and a sports icon, Jack French Kemp advocated for his beliefs with an unwavering integrity and intellectual honesty. On the football field, he earned the respect and admiration of his teammates for his judgment and leadership. As a public servant, he placed country before party and ideas before ideology. Jack Kemp saw bridges where others saw divisions, and his legacy serves as a shining example for all those who strive to challenge conventional wisdom, stay true to themselves, and better our nation. Cara Kennedy, accepting on behalf of her father, Edward M. Kennedy. For more than 4 decades, Senator Edward M. Kennedy has boldly fought for equal opportunity, fairness, and justice for all Americans. In his tireless quest for a more perfect union, Senator Kennedy has reformed our schools, strengthened our civil rights, helped seniors and working families, lifted up the poor, and worked to ensure that every American has access to quality and affordable health care. With volumes of laws bearing his name and countless lives touched by his extraordinary passion, Senator Kennedy has accumulated several lifetimes' worth of achievements. The United States proudly recognized this righteous citizen, devout public servant, and giant among men. Billie Jean Moffitt King. Through her example and advocacy, Billie Jean Moffitt King has advanced the struggle for greater gender equality around the world. In an age of male-dominated sports, her pioneering journey took her from Long Beach, California, to the lawns of All England Club and the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Her athletic acumen is matched only by her unwavering defense of equal rights. With Billie Jean King pushing us, the road ahead will be smoother for women, the future will be brighter for LGBT Americans, and our nation's commitment to equality will be stronger for all. Reverend Joseph E. Lowry. Reverend Joseph E. Lowry has marched through life with faith and purpose, carrying with him the legacy of a movement that touched America's conscience and changed its history. At the forefront of the major civil rights events of our time, from the Montgomery bus boycott to protests against apartheid, he has served as a tireless beacon for nonviolence and social justice. As a pastor and civil rights advocate, he co-founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and championed the cause of peace and freedom around the world. The United States proudly honors this outstanding leader. Joseph Medicine Crow. As a warrior and living legend, history flows through Dr. Joseph Medicine Crow Hyberd. Born on a reservation and raised by traditional grandparents, he became the first member of his tribe to earn a master's degree. For his valiant service in World War II, he was awarded the status of Crow War Chief, and his renowned studies of the first Americans and contributions to cultural and historical preservation have been critical to our understanding of America's history. Joe Medicine Crow is a symbol of strength and survival, and the United States honors him for his dedication to this country and to all Native Americans. Stuart Milk, accepting on behalf of his uncle, Harvey Bernard Milk. Harvey Bernard Milk dedicated his life to shattering boundaries and challenging assumptions. as one of the first openly gay elected officials in this country, he changed the landscape of opportunity for the nation's gay community. Throughout his life, he fought discrimination with visionary courage and conviction. Before his tragic death in 1978, he wisely noted, "Hope will never be silent," and called upon Americans to stay true to the guiding principles of equality and justice for all. Harvey Milk's voice will forever echo in the hearts of all those who carry forward his timeless message. Sandra Day O'Connor. Sandra Day O'Connor has paved the way for millions of women to achieve their dreams. Completing law school in just 2 years, she graduated third in her class at a time when women rarely entered the legal profession. With grace and humor, tenacity and intelligence, she rose to become the first woman on the United States Supreme Court. Her historic 25-term tenure on the court was defined by her integrity and independence, and she has earned the nation's lasting gratitude for her invaluable contributions to history and the law. Sidney Poitier. Ambassador and actor Sidney Poitier has left an indelible mark on American culture. Rising from the tomato farms of the Bahamas, his talent led him to Broadway, Hollywood, and global acclaim. In front of black and white audiences struggling to write the nation's moral compass, Sidney Poitier brought us the common tragedy of racism, the inspiring possibility of reconciliation, and the simple joys of everyday life. Ultimately, the man would mirror the character, and both would advance the nation's dialogue on race and respect. Chita Rivera. From stage to screen, Chita Rivera has captured America's imagination with her magnetic presence and radiant voice. Over a career that has spanned a half-century, she has received numerous accolades for her performances, including 2 Tony Awards, 6 additional Tony nominations, and the Kennedy Center Honors Award. As fearless as Anita in West Side Story and as self-reliant as Aurora in Kiss of the Spider-Woman, she has broken barriers under Broadway's lights and inspired a generation of women to follow in her remarkable footsteps. The United States honors Chita Rivera for her lifetime of achievement as one of America's great artists. Mary Robinson. For Mary Robinson, the fight to end discrimination and suffering is an urgent moral imperative. She has been a trailblazing crusader for women's rights in Ireland and a forceful advocate for equality and human rights around the world. Whether courageously visiting conflict-stricken regions or working to inject concern for human rights into business and economic development, Mary Robinson continues this important work today, urging citizens and nations to make common cause for justice. Janet Davison Rowley. Dr. Janet Davison Rowley was the first scientist to identify a chromosomal translocation as the cause of leukemia and other cancers, considered among the most important medical breakthroughs of the past century. After enrolling at the University of Chicago at age 15, she went on to challenge the conventional medical wisdom about the cause of cancer in the 1970s, which had placed little emphasis on chromosomal abnormalities. Her work has proven enormously influential to researchers worldwide who have used her discovery to identify genes that cause fatal cancers and to develop targeted therapies that have revolutionized cancer care. The United States honors this distinguished scientist for advancing genetic research and the understanding of our most devastating diseases. Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Mpilo Tutu. With unflagging devotion to justice, indomitable optimism, and an unmistakable sense of humor, Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Mpilo Tutu has stirred the world's conscience for decades. As a man of the cloth, he has drawn the respect and admiration of a diverse congregation. He helped lead South Africa through a turning point in modern history, and with an unshakable humility and firm commitment to our common humanity, he helped heal wounds and lay the foundation for a new nation. Desmond Tutu continues to give voice to the voiceless and bring hope to those who thirst for freedom. Muhammad Yunus. With his belief in the self-reliance of all people, Professor Muhammad Yunus has altered the face of finance and entrepreneurship. As an academic, he struggled with pervading economic theories and their effects on the people of his native Bangladesh. Yearning for a new way of lifting people out of poverty, he revolutionized banking to allow low-income borrowers access to credit. In the process, he has enabled citizens of the world's poorest countries to create profitable businesses, support their families, and help build sustainable communities. In doing so, Muhammad Yunus has unleashed new avenues of creativity and inspired millions worldwide to imagine their own potential.
Before we break up, why don't we all give an extraordinary round of applause to these remarkable men and women. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, guests and recipients are asked to please remain seated at this time. Other guests are invited to proceed to the reception. Thank you. Once again, guests and recipients are asked to please remain seated. All other guests are invited to proceed to the reception. Thank you.
cameras and cell phones, you know. Our wonderful president.
Thank you. Please be seated. There are many honors and privileges bestowed on the occupant of this House, but few mean as much to me as the chance to award America's highest civilian medal to the recipients that are here today. This is a chance for me and for the United States of America to say thank you to some of the finest citizens of this country and of all countries. The men and women we honor today have led very different lives and pursued very different careers.
Stephen Hawking. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and First Lady Michelle Obama.
Presidential Medal of Freedom. We leave this recorded event now to take you live to that Medal of Freedom ceremony at the White House. As the recipients are being introduced, the nation's highest civilian award goes to 16 individuals this year, including Senator Ted Kennedy and former Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. Live coverage now from the East Room on C-SPAN.
Joseph Medicine Crow. Stuart Milk, accepting on behalf of Mary Robinson. Janet Davison Rowley. Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Mpilo Tutu. Muhammad Yunus. of his uncle, Harvey Bernard Milk. Sandra Day O'Connor. Sidney Poitier. Chita Rivera.